Okay,
And we did that on some of our roads this year.
Did you?
Yeah, we had,
Done. So should,
what you figure,
Yeah, so I think
Oh,
you'll,
yep.
anyone
Come in
joins
and they-
virtually.
they did that under stuff first,
Yeah,
Last
and
time
then
it let me,
they came
last
over.
time it let me.
Locked
open
it,
the meeting.
painted it black.
Be the organizer, but I'll watch out.
I mean, we had some people that are like, with my road,
we'll be
and
able
we're
to
like,
share the screen.
yeah, and now we're trying to
Yes.
preserve it. Like, you know, they just, they don't want to change.
Last year we did skipping on any of the main roads, you know, and it was like, people didn't understand it at all.
No.
And what are you doing?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And now they like it after.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see the lobby, so I can just. watch
Would you
it.
explain it?
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit? And it's
Yeah, that way you forgot.
fog seals.
So we
$3
need to do,
square
we need
yard
to
versus
do
going
the
paving, what, $22, $25
$25
square yard?
that we want up.
Yeah.
I have it all
Yeah,
in the
worked out
packet
better.
right here. Okay. Yeah, thanks for stealing Emily.
Yeah.
You know, I.
she's thriving.
Sorry about your luck,
Hello, Emily.
Yeah, I want to work
Good
in
to
our.
Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Who's the rookie?
Just no to everything. Don't even have a vote on here today?
No, we didn't know we were gonna be hated when we came up with Emily now.
We do have the email, Courtney, that says that you were gonna be the alternate to Tom.
Yeah, Tom and I will be the alternates for Brian, yes.
So we did put that into our minds, but as far as effectively putting it on paper, but you can vote for them.
Okay. Tom should be here today, so it's not a problem, but we just wanted to make sure we were covered.
Yeah.
You have
it wasn't
other
writing.
ones?
What's that?
There's a-
Hang out with Joe.
Right,
yes, yes, Thank you.
Yeah. Getting back together.
Catching up on old times?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done this before.
Emily's so proud this morning, she walked out of her computer and I had to call county IT to get her.
Yeah.
You grass in the.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, that was my fault, yes. Blame me for everything.
Never mind.
Off.
Yeah, not that.
I don't know. And, we all graduated together.
Okay, all right. How are Oh, yeah, and that's, but it was weird because one of these counties.
So thank you.
Yeah.
And they got it started very.
How are you?
Driving to.
What is it?
That the county.
Oh, this is, this one.
Oh, all right, yeah. Just the final one?
Number 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Chance yet, literally. No, I don't want to lost, you know.
I'm kind of glad.
Because every year. He's like, yeah, I know, I'm not a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see the background.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. With that, back at the peanut gallery.
Well, please, you would help us out.
From Alvin, yeah.
What do you think you'll get?
Yeah.
Golfing with the son, because my son's on the golf team. It's my husband golf, so we're golfing. I just spent a week at the beach, yes. Yeah. softball, you know, that kind of a thing. I don't, I'm never gonna take it seriously, we just went last night, because the high school, the first match Monday, like his first match Tuesday. So we went out, and did another 9 last night after his practice, so that he could get in. And I exploded about halfway through, so I was just like, I threw a
Right.
club at one
Yes,
point
so
in time.
that's
Just to make him realize that he's not the only one who can get angry at himself, just kind of was like laughing at me, and I went, oh, I'm sorry. Is it funny when you get mad at yourself when you're playing? Cause I saw that in the email.
I had my meet last night.
I haven't seen her.
Show.
Oh, I was.
I thought, like, I went to bed at 9:15, just to lay in bed this.
So hot. I kept going, can we just drive around this hill? And they walk, the high school walks,
Yeah.
so they have to walk the 9 holes, so you walk for practice, and I was like, well, at least we're riding, I'm like, I'm not walking.
It was.
Sure, it was bad. Sure.
I was changing golf gloves after every hole,
Yes.
trying to get it to dry out a little bit, and use the other one, and
Yeah.
man, it was.
Well, and yesterday during the morning, we took my nieces, I had took off yesterday, I took my daughter and my nieces to, East Safari, different city, and we did one of the ropes courses. So first I did that, and then I went, I was like, what?
Well, I knew we had another seizure, I didn't.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. What am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this?
Today.
Today.
Wait, see in case, I was on Wednesday.
That's enough problems.
Nine hole, yeah.
There a few weeks ago in that's great shape.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
I don't know. Oh, bad.
Oh, that's it, so here.
Oh, no, good.
Yeah.
That was the outing I did was for no.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you're talking.
One of the programs at the school.
Okay.
I don't even know. I went with, I got asked to play by Bob Ross.
That's the only one that's left.
Hey, good.
Yeah. Yeah, when I did mine for a little bit.
Oh, we know how to come to meetings.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow.
Like last.
I'll do it good. Cool. All right. Okay. Thank you. Hope it's gonna be a lot less stressful.
I was over there yesterday.
I think
They were setting up.
Hello.
you're in a new capacity.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Howdy. I think you're ready to keep an eye on that. How you doing?
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Good, how are you?
There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah. Yep. Do the same parade. So it's a big project. Yeah.
Oh, we getting a divorce?
It's been rough on us.
Separation is fine.
Separation. Yeah. Mom trial. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Over there by the.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. So don't get
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Well, actually, no. I can't sign up for it.
May have been right.
Just check that it's like.
Trying to remember that there was, yeah.
I think. And with the logistics building, we'll get better.
Anybody else?
That under. So, yeah, we'll get through it.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we haven't closed yet. Yeah.
Nice back. What's going on, man? Plus the buildings.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Play.
Yeah, take my seat. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. No, I'm fine.
Yeah. All right. So Ian was here.
Oh, I see.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
The system. People around me. Yeah. At least two.
Okay. All right.
Just the three of you.
Yep.
Oh, I know. We get one from 7:30 to 20.
Yeah, we should open it up and set the time.
We're gonna go. They're open.
Yeah. We're set.
Ready when you are.
All right, everybody, welcome. Good morning. I will call the meeting, August 13th meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee to order. Next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. So are there any members of the public that wish to comment on items that are on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to the next item, which is a vote on the minutes. Hopefully everybody has had a chance to look at the minutes for May 14th. If you have, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So, I'll second.
Motion by Bill Coon, second by Tim May. Is there any discussion or corrections? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye. Any? Next up is the Transportation Improvement Program. First, we'll talk about the 2025 to 2028 administrative modifications and informational items. I'll turn it over to Julia Cornell from Central Office.
Hi, can you hear me all right? Okay, so first I just want to highlight a couple actions. First, because you're on it, from the informational items, amendment number 1 at the top. This was an amendment to add the preliminary engineering, final design, and construction phases to MPMS number 76852, which is I-79 MP 165 to MP 178 on the interstate tip. This was also a PMC item, which received approval on May 28th. So this was an overall addition of $63.7 million, but no vote is required due to this being on the interstate tip, just sharing for informational purposes. And then the next action I wanted to highlight was administrative action number 1, if you scroll down. Keep going. Yeah, right there. So this action was to add an Act 13 project to the tip. $59,500 in Act 13 funds and $25,500 in local funds were added to the construction phase of MPMS 122668 Donlin Road culvert in federal fiscal year 2025. Those are just the 2 actions I wanted to highlight, but if anyone has any questions. But if not, that's all I had.
Anybody have any questions for Julia on those 2 items?
No, I appreciate the help on Donald Road. It was something that happened real quick. It's here, even quick. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Julia, there's no other questions. Did you have any additional items that you mentioned, or?
No, that was it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, of course. Next item is the 2027 draft project list. Courtney?
Yes, so first we want to thank everybody who submitted projects for consideration for the 2027 draft tip. We received about 7 of them, I do believe, that we went over. Some of them, they need to go on the LRTP. Some of them are eligible for local federal aid routes. We've sent out emails on all of those. We're down to the last two that we are looking at. They're the submissions from Fairview Township as well as the one from Mill Creek Township. Looking at the intersection projects, the one in Fairview, and then the one that is over by the zoo. So those are the two that we're looking at, seeing which one of them we might be able to add to the current tip. And we'll be letting you guys know as we move forward with that. What is in the packet is the draft project listing for both the roadway. So the first one is for roadway. The second one is bridges. We'll get this sent out to everybody after today's meeting. The roadway one is good to send out. If you click on the MPMS title column on that dot, it will take you to the one map so you can see the location of each one of those projects. I still need to add that for the bridges. The bridges was hot off the press effective Monday afternoon when we were finally able to get a final list together. So we are going to be putting those links into that one so you guys can see where those structures are. We wanted to get it out for today's meeting so that you guys can take a look at it over the next month. And then at the meeting next month, we can answer any questions that anyone might have and go into any further discussion about any of the projects at that point in time. So we'll get these out to you guys. You can look at them and we can talk about them. If you have questions in the meantime, don't hesitate, email me. If there's something on one of these that you guys want to know about before that happens, but we will be getting these out and the bridge one will be updated with the links as well. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to point out real quickly, Courtney mentioned the one map and the MPMS numbers. That is a great resource, and I don't know if everybody knows about it, but if you go to PennDOT's one map, you can search on any of those MPMS numbers and it will pull up the project and give you details. I know I've used it a few times when we get some emails for some projects that I'm not really sure what they are. It's an easy way to figure out what people are talking about. So even without the direct link, you can always enter that in the
And if you
search
just
bar.
Google PennDOT one map, it'll come up. If anyone has questions about it, you can also let us know and we can help with anything that you guys might have question wise with one map as well. So. Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Thank
Thanks for the update. Next up is let me get the acronym right, Transportation Systems Management and Operations, also known as TSMO application. I'm not sure who would like to speak on that. Jessica?
Yeah, we are, the group here needs to vote to make application for the TSMO funding. This is capital funding that for fiscal years 27 and 28 that can be used for mostly things that are for messaging, like message boards, cameras, could be fiber devices, things that are for the interstates in particular. Amy from PennDOT is preparing our application. If you go to the next next page here. This is our application. What she has here is 6 priority projects that she would like us to consider if we want to apply for all of them or some of them. They are mostly for message boards on the interstate interchanges to alert travelers of things like road closure, snow, this and that conditions, road conditions. The PennDOT can help me if I get any of this wrong.
Real-time information.
Yeah, real-time information to travelers to prevent them from having something happen to them on the highway. The locations are on the map, which I had in the package here. We have in the packet. They are ranked in order of the ones that were discussed as the priorities. So 1 through 6, a total of $1.6 million would be being applied for these messaging systems, and the match requirement is 20%, so that the MPO would have to put up 20% in order to make all of these projects happen. So I think the only thing we wanted to make sure we're comfortable with was whether or not we had that money in the tip. Am I saying that right, Courtney? So do we have 20% for this project?
Yes. Yep. We would be able to cover it.
And it would covering all 6 of these affect any other projects?
it does not look like it. I believe what we can use is the carbon reduction funding for it. They allowed us to do that the last round of these that we applied for instead of using the STP funds. We have that on the line items. It wouldn't defer any projects.
The way Amy described it, if this group votes in favor of making application for all of these projects, then she would go forward with that. That doesn't mean that all the projects would be awarded. So this is likely to be some, not all would be awarded. So, and obviously our 20% match based on what gets awarded. And she said that this would be probably beginning 27, 28 in construction.
Not to put you on the spot, but do you know, sorry, not to put you on the spot, but I'll put you on the spot. Do you know when the applications are due?
31 August. I do
Okay,
know
so
that.
they're due at the end of August, so.
Yeah, and we
that was-
asked about whether or not we needed a coordinating committee vote, or we could just do with a TAC recommendation to make the application, and the history says the TAC can recommend making this application.
Since Tim's here, you're the chair of the coordinating committee, are you comfortable with that, or would you prefer the coordinating committee?
No, I mean, based on PennDOT's recommendation, it said, well, my only question, just like, are these more effective than cameras? Like, or there?
Well, there's cameras and there's messages.
There is, okay, all right, so they would be included both,
Yeah.
okay. No, I have no problem.
Okay, just want to make sure procedurally, so, PennDOT would accept the vote of the
TAC
TAC,
to apply,
okay.
to allow the application on behalf of them.
All right, well then, any other questions for Jessica or for PennDOT?
Just a question, on this website, is there a, list of the eligible or the criteria, the definitive areas that we can apply for this different, or is it just for more of the interstates?
So it normally needs to be on the regional operations plan. So they've looked at it from the western side of the state. District 1 is a part of that, on where they consider to be areas of concern for traffic movement. And so these are pulled from that operations plan. So there might be some locations, like we put some on in Crawford County. There are some that are not on an interstate because it was for to move traffic around 79, but not actually on 79. But it would need to be on that regional operations plan.
These locations are 79, one is on 79, all the rest are on 90. What they explained is they don't already have any kind of messaging at these locations to alert drivers.
Yeah, the long-term goal is to put these devices at every interchange, and this is just a step. And then you'll see on the page there, it says this project on ROP, that regional operations plan. That's very critical. So this regional operations plan that we kind of do an update every 4 or 5 years has these interchanges that don't have a camera, don't have a message board, because we'd like to have coverage of the entire stretch of I-90, I-86, I-79. And so, when funding becomes available or programs like this, we always encourage people to apply. And, we're looking to have good coverage of the interstate so we know what's going on. And again, provide that real-time information to the motorists.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions then? If not, I would entertain a motion on the TISMO applications.
Make the motion to apply for the TISMO.
Thank you.
For all of the projects.
All 6, I believe, yeah.
Second. Thanks, Dave. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of applying for all 6 TISMO sites, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is the alternative fuel survey results. I would guess before we start, I'd like to introduce Alexandra Royal. She is the new, I don't know, or Jessica, do you want to maybe explain, since it's a change in your staff, and introduce Ally?
Yeah, so Alexandra Royal came to our team at planning in in January, and she's been learning a lot of programs. And with Emily's departure, because PennDOT stole her, not that I'm bitter or anything, but was shadowing with Emily to learn transportation, and she's getting accustomed to the whole transportation planning role. And we'll be taking that on. She has a couple of other programs that she's administering too, so it'll be a slow transition. That's why we're kind of tag teaming transportation in the interim. So I like to make sure that there's program continuity if I'm losing a team member. So it's been great that she's been able to step in, and thank you to Emily for shadowing with her and leaving us with a pretty good roadmap, although we don't know everything. So apologize for that.
No, well, thanks. And I just do want to welcome you, Ally, and thank you for everything you've done. And then obviously recognize Emily for all the hard work that she put into the MPO over all these years. So, we're sad to lose you here, but glad that you're at PennDOT and still working with us. Yeah, good.
So I'll piggyback, and so Emily is our new planner. Those of you that worked with Lindsay DeVito before, she moved to a role in central office, and we have hired Emily as our transportation planner for the district. So when you guys are working on any of your plans, and different things like that, bike ped, you'll be working with Emily. So we are very thankful to have her from the county. So thank you. Appreciate it.
She's already been on some of our meetings, so we
Yes,
appreciate
she
still
has.
having
Yeah.
her as a resource.
Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to you,
Thank
Ally.
you. First and foremost, Emily and I would like to thank everyone who participated in the survey. The results are presented on the screen. The top rated locations for community charging use were public transportation hubs and shopping centers and retail locations. The lowest rated locations for community charging use were dense residential neighborhoods, sports and entertainment venues, and industrial and business parks and marinas. And then the list of priority communities were ranked highest to lowest in priority, with City of Erie, Erie County at EMTA's 208 Bayfront Parkway, Erie, PA at the top of the list, and Erie County Route 20 corridor at the bottom of the list.
We can send this out after.
If you would like, I can also email a copy as well.
That would be great if you would just send it out to everybody so they can take a look, please.
And then there were 10 open-ended responses to the question. Are there specific locations or corridors for alternative fuel charging you want to see developed in Erie? The responses include malls, downtown, grocery stores, municipal parking lots, along interstates, no specific locations, but they need to be geographically distributed. No. Spots along I-90 and I-79 outside of the immediate Erie area, i.e. Edinburgh, West County, and Harbor Creek. Intermodal Center would be a good Bayfront location, and the Parking Authority HQ would be good for downtown, Route 6, no again, and Southern Erie County. And then there are 6 responses to the open-ended question. Do you have any other comments about transportation fuel in Erie County? The responses include, I think we are in good shape for fuels, but for the most part, but it is good to be ahead of the growth that is occurring in alternative transportation fuels, municipal parking lots. No, I see more and more EVs on the road every day, and the need for DC fast chargers is growing while supply lags. Anything that helps remove barriers for people in municipalities on the fringe of Erie County would be big in workforce development. No, and then coordination with alternative fueling / power should be taken with public transportation, school districts, and the private sector to develop an efficient economy of scale locally, as opposed to 3 or 4 alternative fuels with minimal usage and coverage. So the results from the survey were submitted to Colton Brown to be incorporated into PennDOT's NEVI, which stands for National Electric Vehicle Initiative Community Charging Plan. Unfortunately, right now, the federal NEVI funding is on hold, so we are unsure if the project will continue at this time.
I do think I did just see something in the news that I think there was a lift on the NEVI funding. I wasn't sure if you guys were aware of that yet, or there are at least new guidelines from the federal government on the NEVI funds that may allow them to proceed, but I wasn't sure if that's trickled down to anybody yet.
An email came out yesterday. I hadn't had a chance to read it before we came up here today, just talking about the direction of it. So, well, if it says something, I'll make sure we share it.
Thanks.
Matt, can I make a comment?
Oh, yeah.
I was out at the Sheets the other day, I stopped, on 97 there, and it was full. The charging station was full, there was waiting lines. And, it's, very, interesting, the numbers now, because a lot more manufacturers now are getting into full weight, EVs. And I have a hybrid, which I really love, but, the, suggestion that came to me, and I know this is a question that we've even been grappling with it in Corey. Do you put the EV somewhere like, in the middle of nowhere? Or are you smart like Sheets and Walmart, where you put it where people are gonna buy stuff? They're gonna be there for 15 or 20 minutes at least or longer. And I thought, I don't know if anyone has approached the mall owners. Mill Creek Mall would be probably an ideal spot for a large EV section, even though Walmart is up on the top. Because that would drive commerce into the mall. And I think why I'm talking about this in Corey, we started this discussion about building it out, in the middle of nowhere on Route 6. We're putting it where we're going to get some shopping. We're going to take advantage of their time. So I just wanted to put that in that, maybe we should look at that overall. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
A question and a comment. First, a comment. I drive a plug-in hybrid, and I recently visited family in New Jersey, and there were charging stations everywhere in malls and stuff, but they were all level ones. And level one chargers just don't, they're very, very slow. They're like the home chargers, right? So that's something to keep in mind, that you want to specify. DC charging requires the entire DC setup, which is an enormous project. We looked at it for a year, but level 2 chargers are the ones that are useful. The other thing too is that they should be in places where people are going to spend an hour or so or two, right? So as Dave's saying, nobody wants to drive out in the middle of nowhere and park there for 2 hours just to get some juice. And then my question is, forget about the federal money. Is there any money that's available through the state or even through this body to do charging stations? Right now, I'm in the process of getting at least 2 set up for our parking lot next door. And the costs are not outrageous. Because we already have we have 4-inch conduit run from the new breaker boxes out to the sites. And the charging stations themselves are in the area of 10 grand. So that's something to keep in mind. And what we're looking at is something that our employees can use, but also that would be a pay option for the public. So
I'm not aware of any, is there any state?
I'm not
funding?
aware of any state funding that can be used for it. Most of it has all been federal funding
right.
that has been designated to be allowed to be spent on that.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the alternative fuels survey? Well, thank you, Emily, for publishing it, and then Allie for collecting everything. And, if you would please share that with the group, that would be great. Okay, next up are subcommittee reports. And the first subcommittee report is the MPO bylaws. That is me, so I will take that away. On the screen here, we'll go through a quick little PowerPoint. A lot of this was presented at the coordinating committee. The last coordinating committee meeting, we did get some input from people. And so we did make a few proposed changes. So I'll detail those now. But first off, I just want to recognize the members of the committee. Besides myself, there was Jessica Horan, Mayor Mike Baker from Corey, Leanne Harmoner from the city of Erie, and Brandon Leach from PennDOT. So one of the main things that we were trying to do with the bylaw update was update the text. If everybody's had a chance to look at the text of the bylaws, it was fairly antiquated. There were references to a lot of organizations that didn't exist anymore. It did not include any of the current practices and policies, whether that's through PennDOT or the federal government or our own policies, such as the public outreach plan. That was not referenced. And so we did a lot of work on the actual text of the bylaws just to get them to comport with, the way we conduct business in 2025 and ensure that we're up to date with that. But some of the things that we did change in the text, we did add term limits for officers. There are currently no term limits for officers on either the coordinated committee or the technical advisory committee. We propose a 5 consecutive year term. Originally, when we talked about it, that was it, but we did allow the ability for somebody to be reelected after they have been out of office for 1 year. Additionally, you can tell from reviewing the age and the text of the bylaws that there was no regular mechanism for reviewing those and updating those. And so we do propose that there's now a 5-year minimum review of the bylaws. And then as far as representative attendance, there was not really a provision to remove members if they didn't attend. I don't believe, but the provisions called for if an organization didn't have a member attend a meeting for a year or more, then they would be notified. So now we have changed that and are proposing that, we do take roll, Jessica and staff do take roll as to who attends each meeting. And if an organization's representative attends less than half of the meetings in a given calendar year, then that organization will receive a notice saying, that your representative has not been present. So the other facet of looking at the bylaws was looking at the membership. The membership has changed and flexed over the years. A lot of it was just very subjective as far as how members were granted seats on the committee. And so we had kind of an overarching guideline was to keep the MPO coordinating committee at the current 23 votes. We did do some research on other MPOs around the state serving similar populations to ours. Most of them tend to have in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 voting members. Some have even fewer. We are one of the larger voting bodies as far as MPOs and RPOs around the state. There was some discussion at the coordinating committee that we could add a bunch of members, potentially every municipality in the county, and then maybe, the discussion around that was the difficulty of reaching a quorum. As it is now with 23 voting members, it's occasionally difficult to have a quorum attend the meetings. And so there was talk about, well, you could have a larger body, but then you could have quorum rules that were, smaller than that. And really then, we felt that was also unfair because you're basically diluting everyone's vote. If you're saying that just a set amount of members can appear and vote, then, if you have a bunch of other votes out there, they really don't count. So we decided to keep the quorum at 51% of the total membership. And we have not specified the role of the voting member in an organization. So each organization that gets a vote is free at whatever level of governance they have to designate who they wish to be their voting member and their alternates. So there was a lot of discussion, a lot of review about the methodology in which we used our goal was to have a data-driven decision where you have defined metrics on how you determine membership of the committee. As I mentioned before, it was all fairly subjective and has grown over the years just by, people indicating their want or desire to be on the committee. And so we looked at keeping a set of base memberships, and you can see them there on the left. The PennDOT obviously has to have representation. They would have 2, the county would have 2. Both of the cities in the county would each have one base member. The Association of Boroughs would have 2 members that they could assign to whomever in their membership they deemed to represent their interests. Same thing with the Erie County Association of Townships. The other transportation agencies in the county, EMTA, the Port Authority, would each have a vote. The borough that has the highest vehicle miles traveled, and I'll get into that in a second. The first and second, currently they're Girard and Edinburgh, but those would be up for review every 5 years when the bylaws are open. The municipality with the highest vehicle miles traveled can receive one vote for every 300,000 vehicle miles traveled. Currently, that's the city of Erie. And then the township with the highest vehicle miles traveled would receive one additional vote for every 300,000. Currently, that's Mill Creek Township. Getting into vehicle miles traveled. We looked at, I think I mentioned, we looked at various different metrics that we could use, starting with population. We looked at total road miles. We looked at total miles of state roads in a municipality. We settled on vehicle miles traveled because, and please jump in and correct me, but that is a metric that PennDOT itself uses at a statewide level in order to divide funds among the MPOs. Is that
Yes,
fair
that's
to say?
That's part of the formula.
Right. So we felt that it was fair if that was what PennDOT was using, to direct funds statewide, that we use that metric as far as deciding on voting membership within the MPO. And you can see the definition of vehicle miles traveled there in the green. One of the things that came about from our last meeting at the coordinating committee was that the original VMT values that we had accounted for highway miles. And there was some discussion about using that metric since this committee doesn't really assign highway funds in general for highway projects, and that it potentially was skewing some of the results. And so what you see and what you'll see on the next page are the vehicle miles traveled with the interstate mileage removed from those numbers. So if you want to move on to the next slide, please. So here's the chart, the current vehicle miles traveled without interstate miles, as it mentions. So you see that, you see the ranks. And so according to the formula, municipalities with over 100,000 VMT would receive an additional vote. And so you'll see on the list there, the Erie and Mill Creek are the two highest, and then the next five, Harbor Creek, Fairview, Summit, Washington, and Waterford would each receive a vote on the committee. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the base votes, the top two boroughs, as far as vehicle miles traveled, are currently Girard and Edinburgh. And so they would have votes on the committee. That leads to a committee makeup, coordinating committee makeup, I should mention, that looks like this. PennDOT in the county with 2, EMTA and the Port Authorities with 1, ECAB with 2, Cato with 1, City of Corey, Girard, and Edinburgh would have 1. The City of Erie would have 4 votes. Mill Creek Township would have 2, and then Harbor Creek, Fairview, Summit, Washington, and Waterford would each have 1. Moving on then to the Technical Advisory Committee. Each of the members of the committee would have 1 vote, and they include the county, the Port Authority, PennDOT Program Center, as well as PennDOT District, the COG, the Erie Parking Authority, Erie County Emergency Management, ECATO and ECAB. The airport, I'll come back to the airport. The MTA, the 2 cities, Erie and Corey, Mill Creek Township, Girard Borough, Edinburgh, Harbor Creek Summit, Fairview, Washington, and Waterford Townships. Just want to come back to the airport. One of the airport is currently a member, the Airport Authority is a member of the coordinating committee, but again, following the same rationale that the funding that the airport uses is federal funding. We did remove them as a member of the coordinating committee, although we felt that it was important, and I will say that it is important to have all transportation related agencies as members of the Technical Advisory Committee. And so that's why the airport appears here, as well as the parking. I think that's the end of the slide. I do want to, as long as we're talking about this, and it did come up a little bit in my discussion you saw with Tim May. I do want to make clear the distinction between the 2 committees. Today is a meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee. The Technical Advisory Committee is a smaller subcommittee whose role is to review plans, engineering data, and make recommendations to the coordinating committee. Typically, except for today's vote for the TISMO, typically the TAC does not have the power to adopt anything on behalf of the MPO. That power rests with the coordinating committee. So I do want to set that stage for today and today's discussion. No matter what the result of today's vote is, this vote is a recommending vote to the coordinating committee, and it will actually be their job on their meeting of September 10th this year to move forward with whatever recommendation comes out of today's committee. So no matter what happens today as far as a vote, nothing has been finalized. If the vote was to proceed, that does not change any of the bylaws today. That would be a function of the coordinating committee. So with that, yes.
I have a
Sorry.
Derek
Go ahead.
Martin here. So I have a question with regards to the technical advisory committee. Is still on. This is for the future, correct?
This is correct.
Everything you just.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my concern with what's been done. And I was shocked that you said review the bylaws every 5 years. Most bylaws are overarching. They're there for a long period of time and they don't change. Something might happen that you need to change it to address something that's new that wasn't thought of 60 years ago. So according to your paperwork, this was started in the 60s. So organization's about 61 years old. So something might have changed to drive the decisions to change things. But bylaws are usually not looked at every 5 years. They're only looked at when there's a challenge. Some of the things that you put in the proposal slide presentation, in my opinion, reflect day-to-day operations. Those are not bylaw issues. So my questions, have these proposed bylaw issues actually been reviewed by legal counsel to make sure that they are bylaw worthy? Because some of the things mentioned to me are not bylaw worthy.
I do not believe legal counsel has looked at it, and this has so far been a function of the subcommittee that has taken up the task as far as editing the text. I will say that a lot of the changes in the edits were just for existing things that have been in the bylaws, as you mentioned, since the 60s, but either no longer apply or there are new regulations that we chose to reference. One other, just to kind of answer your question or explain about the 5-year review. One of the reasons that we included the 5-year review is that we are proposing a metrics-based membership, and those vehicle mile traveled are calculated by PennDOT. I don't know if it's every year or on a regular basis. There are new VMTs published, and so reviewing the bylaws, which includes the membership, using that metric would allow for changes if there's a change in traffic patterns, a change in things. The membership doesn't then stay static. If people rise as far as VMT or drop, then the committee would change accordingly.
So based on everything you just said, and I'm not sure if anybody else had access to this presentation before today, my recommendation is if this could be tabled so we can get some more information and understand, maybe PennDOT can give us information on other organizations that use the same metrics, and legal counsel can review this to see what is actually a bylaw and which is an operational perspective, because I don't think that some of the things are bylaw worthy.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Any other questions?
Just a question.
Oh, hang on one sec. We have a question in the room.
Is he making a motion? I'd like to second that motion.
I did not hear a motion.
I thought he made a motion.
I heard a recommendation.
I thought he made a motion to table it.
Well, if it wasn't a motion, I would make a motion to table this so that the people can get additional information and maybe get some more reference from PennDOT as well as legal counsel to make sure that we're changing things that are bylaw worthy.
That motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. So there's now a motion on the table by Derek Martin to table adoption of the bylaws for legal review of the text and discussion about how VMTs are calculated and used throughout the state. But now we'll move forward with discussion. And Anna, go ahead.
So
First of all, I want to thank the committee for the work that you all put into this, because looking at the changes, I mean, it is clear that there was a lot of cleanup that was necessary to modernize and make this more reflective of how the MPO needs to operate. So thank you for all of that. I think right off the bat, I have a question about the version that was shared at the last meeting versus this version that's being shared, because it seems like there have been changes, if I'm understanding correctly, to the actual makeup of the committee. So could you, if that's correct, could you, or did I misunderstand?
No,
the two versions of the
You're
version?
correct. Yes, there are, because the weighted VMT, the difference between the interstate mileage and the VMT without the interstate mileage did change. I can't recall which municipalities shifted
It
from
was,
that.
McCain and Northeast, when you included interstate miles, and then at the coordinating committee, we took all the recommendations that people talked about the coordinating committee, or they submitted some things in writing. Tom from Corey submitted some stuff from writing, a couple of the folks. And so we compiled all the input from the coordinating committee, and then the subcommittee sat again and read through everybody's input and determined what we could, what we felt was a good thing to now consider. So then we reran the numbers without interstate, so it moved Washington and Waterford up and knocked Northeast.
Callie, could you go up one more to the chart? No, the other direction, sorry, I guess. Yeah.
So to your point, Anna, we're presenting proposals as we're going through them as a subcommittee, and then we're revising and putting new proposals.
Yeah, I do think it's important to make clear that this was first presented at the last coordinated committee meeting. That was just kind of a presentation of where we were currently at as far as our work product. There was no voting, no request for any votes or any, affirmation for what we had done. It was the first time that we had a chance to present it to the full committee. We did receive a lot of feedback after that, and then we have tried to make changes based on that. And so this is the first time that it's actually coming up for any sort of action.
Matt, being kind of aggressive on this issue, I've tried to get the bylaws changed for years, or at least addressed. And your committee has done outstanding work, really. This is a very, very fine product, I believe. Yeah, there may be some legal entanglements. One of the reasons I pushed the group in the coordinating committee was I like to have everything out on the table. If you're going to complain, do it in that process, not later after the fact. And I think everybody in that meeting had a chance to voice their opinion, to support their position. If not, this is a very democratic process even today as we go through this process. I'm very proud of that because I think it's a very professional way to address this, because it's hard. It's hard to get representation from a large county. And especially over I've been working with the MPO for 40 years. And I'm only 29 years old. But anyway, over that time, the demographics have changed drastically in Erie County in many instances. So that's why this is pertinent right now to change these. But I want to thank the committee that worked on it. There was a lot of hard work there. I want to thank the coordinating committee for the patience to go through the process. And, I think right now, probably a little more time to look at the legal process, et cetera, might not be a bad idea. So thank you so much.
Thank you. We did have somebody that kind of chimed in online. Chris
Matt.
Croner, was you or not? Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. And I want to echo what Dave just said. I mean, this is not easy work, and we're never going to have a perfect solution. And I think we need to all keep working together on this. I too was going to respectfully ask, and I don't have a vote on the TAC, but I was going to respectfully ask that we table this just to look at this for a little bit longer. I do have concerns. Is it, as it's being presented, is it as equitable as possible? And I know that we're not going to go straight on population, but population still has to factor into this. The city is 35% of the county's population, and as it sits today, we have 26% of the votes. And the new proposal would bring us to 17% of the votes. So I'm not saying population alone is the only metric that we use, but it's hard to see how the city would not be underrepresented. And at the end of the day, population has to factor into this because they're the ones, they're the ones that are generating the revenue that we discuss and where where that revenue goes. They're the ones that ultimately are paying into liquid fuels. They're the ones that are paying the registrations on their vehicles. They're the ones that are traveling these roads, even in other municipalities. And it matters. So I just think we need to take a little more time, try to work out a formula that works for everyone. We've got a history of working together quite well. And but I just think we've got to look at this for a little bit longer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just input for a second? We did look at the history of the bylaws, just, since we're talking about how often bylaws are reviewed. The original membership was determined back in 1963, and no other adjustments have been made to the bylaws since '08. So it's been a really long time since anybody has looked at these bylaws in totality. And the changes that have occurred over time, obviously since the 60s, have really just been political requests to add members. But we were trying to have a data-driven reason why an entity gets a vote on this, on the coordinating committee or the TAC, not a political decision. So what we're trying to do is to set some data reasons why there are votes distributed. And I remind everybody that having a vote on the TAC or having a vote on the coordinating committee does not have any bearing on projects and funding. We're going through a long-range transportation planning process where it's just kicking off, and every municipality and every stakeholder partner will be given the opportunity to bring their projects forward for consideration to be placed into the long-range transportation plan and to be ultimately programmed under the TIP in future years and things like that. So not having a vote on these committees does not mean you're not going to get your projects funded. I think everybody needs to recognize that. It doesn't change the ability for your road, your bridge to be funded by the MPO. Right, Courtney?
Thank you. Jason?
Yeah, first of all, just thank everybody for all the different comments. I think a lot of good points have been made. But I also feel that, I'm not prepared to support it to move forward today. I think we need a pause on it just to make sure we get this right. But having said that, I really respect the committee's work on this. I mean, the city has one of the 5 committee members that's worked on it. So, but having said that, I think we need a little more time to really look at it. The bylaws themselves, I think, most of the changes I think have been good ones. I did hear the comment about maybe the legal counsel and having that checked over is a good thing. But really, I think it's just making sure that, I think we just need a little bit of a timeout to make sure we have the membership list of those committees correct. So, but again, really, a lot of thanks to the committee for working so hard on this, because I know it's not easy work. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Just to, if you don't mind, Mark, just to keep it organized, I'm just going to go around the table and just see anybody else, Bill or Dave, anybody from PennDOT. Okay.
Like I said, West of Orange Park's biggest concern is we've been on it since 1963, and to take us off is sort of like a slap in the face to us. And I understand what you're trying to do. You can add as many members you want. For us to be taken off, it's like, I know Doug Fletcher's probably gonna roll over in his grave to find out the Orange Park has been taken off. So, I mean, we've been here, fighting to keep this up, as part of the MPO. So I mean, we're just concerned, you know, we're one of the smaller municipalities, and we come here and voice our opinion. We always want to keep coming and voicing our opinion, not only for Westville and Orange Park, but for all the other small municipalities that are out there, making sure that their voices are heard. So that's why we like to see small municipalities also involved with the voting membership, so.
Thank you. Marcus?
Yeah, and I mean, echoing what everybody else said in terms of this is a difficult task, going over the bylaws and overall, I think, looking over it, a lot of the changes make sense. So I was actually gonna ask today if it would be at all possible, since the one sticking point it seemed like is, it comes down to the membership of the committees, if we could have actually looked at the bylaws and thought of it separately, one chunk and then separate Article 3 and Article 6 referring to the two memberships. Still, I think it would probably be best to get legal looking at it as well. But thinking of it separately, my concern, I definitely think it's admirable and it makes sense instead of a political approach to it, having some data backing it up. I can get behind that. The question is ultimately what is that data in vehicle miles traveled? There's a couple points of concern that I have. It is complex and it is based off of estimates as asked before. I mean, I understand there's some, observable data, but then kind of you have to extrapolate some of the estimates based off of that. But aside from that, what vehicle miles traveled doesn't capture is pedestrians or, bike paths or, public transportation of any kind. And if we take it to the extreme here, and let's say, the city, if you have a resident in the city that gets their transportation needs satisfied, completely satisfied with a lower amount of road miles traveled. And then you have another municipality that they're, in a sense, not as efficient at serving the needs of their transportation for their residents. Their residents actually have to drive 2 or 3 times the distances to satisfy their transportation needs. In this model, you would have 2 or 3 times the representation for that less efficient transportation system than you would for the city. So I think there is something to be said about the population being, more looked at, and I think it would be nice if we could see a couple alternatives laid out and see, okay, if we did the VMT model, this is what this looks like. If we do the population model, this is what this looks like. I have a couple alternatives brought forward. I know that they were bounced around and considered, and I appreciate speaking with a couple of you on the committee about your thoughts there. If population ultimately doesn't make sense, that's fair, but at least if we could see that alternative, that would be nice. So yeah, I think that's the main gist of it. And in general, I mean, taking a data-driven approach for representation is good. It just does suck. I mean, I think there should be some, understanding given to the current representatives, and not, if we do think ultimately, if there's a couple municipalities we feel that should get additional votes, if we could look at an option where we just add them and not completely upend everything else and see if that's maybe more agreeable. So I would have ultimately asked today as well for the potential for tabling and looking at other alternatives fully fleshed out that we can compare and contrast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said, in particular, your thoughts there. I think the data piece of it is obviously very important. But I do think that more time is needed to fully understand kind of how these different factors can be pulled together to give us some good examples. I mean, I'd be curious in terms of the committee's work, to what extent you looked at other models within Pennsylvania and elsewhere and how MPOs are formulated, like having those examples to see, to compare with what we're doing here. I do think the MT is too narrow of a focus, particularly given, the conversations even we've had here today about electric vehicles and bike paths and all of that, and all of the great work that the city has done around active transportation. There's just so much more that I think we should be considering. And I think that a little more time is needed for us all to fully understand what the options might be here.
Thank you. I think I'll just kind of go around here just to see if there's anybody here that wants to add anything.
I guess I keep hearing there needs to be more information. I think the subcommittee needs to be given the direction and what information.
And the subcommittee's already done a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, so-
We've done population, we have an assessment of population, we have roadmap, we've done the different. We could present that here, but it's the subcommittee's job to present everything we have looked at or the stuff we recommend.
Yeah, I was gonna get to this at the end, but I'll just, speak as a member of the subcommittee. As Jessica mentioned, we did try and slice this and look at it in a bunch of different ways, and, based on data, based on population. You know, and try and come to something that was as equitable as possible and also as close to what we currently have as possible. There are some, if you go straight population, there's a lot of people that just get cut right off at the knees because.
Including Westerville, North Park.
Right. Obviously the population of the city of Erie has changed a lot over the years. And so, their representation isn't necessarily weighted as much as, it currently is, or even what's proposed. So anyway, we did look at a bunch of different data models, but I think your point's very valid. I think at least the existing members of the committee have kind of gone over this and presented what we felt was best. But we're just, 5 people that raised our hands when we were asked. So if there are people here that have concerns with how the data was derived or how it was reviewed, absolutely welcome additional people that would like to raise their hand and be members of the committee and give their input as well. So just throwing that out there. Don't really need anybody at this moment, but we have presented what we felt was the best alternative. And, we would welcome additional input and additional effort to try and get this to be, what everybody's looking for. So.
Matt, this is Derek again. Just to reiterate one of my points earlier, you're making changes. Why are you making changes? What is driving the changes? That to me is important. If there's something that has happened, for example, other airports, their bylaws say they can include operating and non-operating revenue in the way they account for their business. If my bylaws doesn't have that, my bylaws are different, there might be a reason to make the change. The makeup of the committee, I'm not understanding, has some community been slighted in projects that have been put through the MPO? Since I've been on, I think everybody's worked cooperatively to have projects all over the county taken care of. So what's driving the change in the makeup? That's what I don't get, along with the.
Well, yeah, I will tell you that, the committee is acting on a recommendation that the bylaws be updated because, as I mentioned, and I think people can see plainly in the text, there's a lot of antiquated, references in there. There's also a lot of current regulatory issues that are not dealt with in the bylaws. And so an update was asked for, and the committee tried to take a comprehensive look at the bylaws, which also includes the makeup of the committees. And so that's what we are, that's what we reviewed and that's what we are proposing. And we felt that something that was actually had defined metrics was a better method of determining committee membership than, people raising their hand and just getting a majority vote, which just seems to be what happened over the years. So.
And the TAC, I can't remember if it was the TAC or the coordinating committee back in November voted to create this bylaw subcommittee. It wasn't arbitrary. It was voted by the group to create this. But on the point of the legal, there's no problem with us taking our marked up version of the bylaws to the county solicitor for legal review. That's certainly, I can make that happen immediately.
And I do think that's a good suggestion. It's something, that we should thought of. But I'm going to continue to go around the room and then I'll reach out to people online to see if they have any comments. Anybody over here have any?
I think you did a great job. I'd leave it as it is.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And buddy over here. I'm gonna. Renee, if you have any?
I would just support some of the other things that have been said. I appreciate the work of the committee. But I think we need to look a little bit more at the membership, just taking into consideration the different things that have been said.
Thank you.
We're never going to solve the membership problem. We never will. We can be here 2 years from now, trying to decide membership. When I was in the governor's office, I worked with 5 different RPOs and MPOs. Every one of them is completely different. I think PennDOT will understand that. RPOs and MPOs are actually federal programs. They're not county programs. I think Erie County is the only county that's involved in MPOs. And the other thing is, in those 40 years, I've been on the MPO. I've chaired the MPO. Probably 20 some years out of the 40. But my most productive years were years that I didn't sit at the front table, that I was an observer, I was here. I got more business done actually because the chairman would always recognize everyone in the room and the problems. You always had a voice. It doesn't matter whether you're Wesleyville or you're the city of Erie. You had the voice in the room. I've never seen anyone ever deny the voice. This is one of the most cooperative groups that I've ever worked with. I probably attended, 80% of the meetings over the last 40 years. And my whole thing is, I would like something done with county council, because county council is the funding agent over $500 million. It's not the administration. They administer the money. The county council has control of the $500 million. So there's always a rub between those two agencies. Everybody looks at the county and they think it's all one thing. It isn't. It's built like the federal government. But I would be fine with the county council having an active liaison, which I was always when I served on county council. Not a voting member, always, but a liaison to bring them. I mean, like I said, we will never come to consensus. You take Corey, you take southeastern Erie County. In many of the committees, you get past Waterford and maybe Green Township, there's no representation to Corey. And most of that is me. I'm one of the few people, Tom has taken the task on. How many people from southeastern part of the county do you see in meetings? Because it's an hour to get here and an hour to go. And it's out of our pocket. We make a commitment down there. I mean, you make a big commitment when you come from southeastern. The reason I say that is the city of Corey has a representative. But people down there don't see that city line. Wayne Township, Elgin, Concord Township, even over into Union City, where that population travels the roads back and forth. And so I've been the voice of that population for many, many years in the southeastern part, sometimes the only voice. Fortunately, like I said, Tom and the mayor have attended meetings. And we are represented through the boroughs and we are represented through the townships, but they have a lot of people to represent. And I'm a fierce warrior for southeastern Erie County, okay? But I'm also willing to understand that one voice or two voices are very powerful in this organization because you are listened to. So when it comes to like Wesleyville and Lawrence Park, then we get Lake City maybe and other municipalities are saying, well, if you're going to have that debate forever. What we have to do is have an understanding that we're all in this together. And if you want something, sit in the back row. I've sat in the back row for over almost 20 years. You're going to get what you need. And most things aren't really critical. In other words, when you come to PennDOT and to the KID committee with a plan, they go forward with it. You don't have to be a member of this voting committee to get that done. One of the biggest projects I got done I wasn't a member. But the MPO board came in behind me and fought the state for the funding I needed. So, again, let's not sit and debate this membership thing forever. Because whether we're a voting member or not, we are a member of the MPO. Every municipality has the right to sit in this room to discuss their project. Most votes aren't that critical. I mean, in 40 years, I can't think of maybe 3 votes that had anything to do with the parochial part of it. Where you pitted the city of Erie against some other municipality or the county. No, I mean, the city of Erie, when I got my big project, because the state had cut it, the city of Erie was my big, and Harbor Creek, they were my biggest backers. They came in the fight with me. So this is how we have to work. So the only thing I'm asking is, let's not debate this forever, because we are all members of the MPO. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron, did I see you had your?
Yes, I first of all, I'd like to congratulate the committee. And they picked, you gotta have a baseline. They picked a baseline of roads and bridges. That's what we represent as a group. So to me, that is the place to be, and I think we're on the right path. I don't object to standing down until we check the legal end. I really don't. Or if somebody else has any ideas. But we're on the right path. And I would just like to, like I said, I have no objection to standing down for legal. But as far as mileage goes, that seems to be the proper path. And McCain lost the vote, so. I'm not,
Well,
that's all.
thank you. John, did you have anything to? Okay, so I do notice that one person online has their hand raised. We will take that person, but I encourage anybody that's online now that also wants to have a comment, please raise your hand. We'll take you in order, and then we can call for the vote once we've heard from everybody. Kim, it looks like Kim Clear has her hand.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for everyone meeting. I guess I want to first start by showing my appreciation to the subcommittee that used data in order to make decisions. I think that part is really important for me, especially being a researcher and having taught research for a long time. Knowing that too, I understand data can, with Mill Creek government study example, data can be manipulated and data can be found to fit a narrative. I know that this was a, and when I say nonpartisan, I don't mean political party. This was a nonpartisan decision that was presented to us. And so I want to just shout out to Jessica and Matt and Leanne and everybody else on that committee. So great job, everyone. It seems to me just listening and, I think that this is probably the most amount of attention anything the MPO has gotten since I've been doing this only 3.5 years, I guess, for Mill Creek. And I guess it sounds to me that I guess more discussion is needed. I guess when I was on council or even in Mill Creek supervisors, when we find that we are really at an impasse and there are this many people passionate, and here's the thing, they didn't know they were that passionate about it 9 months ago when you guys started the subcommittee. And now all of a sudden they're like, wait, this is much more important than I thought it was going to be. But to take a step back and to say, okay, maybe we do have more people that are willing to be involved now because they do realize how important this is. They didn't know how important it was before. So I think that the money traveled. I think that was one great way to take a look at the data. I think you have to consider the biking, the walking, the mass transit services, the visitorship as well. There might be some other things that we can all bring if we have more members to kind of help guide and collect the data. But anyway, I just want to say I thank you. And I guess my instinct here is to just, I guess, take a minute, see what else we can do. How can we get everyone on board so that it is not divisive? That's where can we make concessions and make sure that we all have a seat at the table. So I guess that's my recommendation at this point is to, and by the way, to I do agree with the structural edits that was made by the committee. And I don't know if we have a possibility of just moving that forward and then we kind of leave the seats at the table until we can, I guess, come to a better understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hand raised, but Mayor Schember, I see, it's hard for me to tell with the glare. Did you have your hand raised? I see you're on camera. Did you have any
Yes, can you hear
comments?
me? Can you hear me
Yes.
okay? Okay,
Yes.
I won't talk long. I'm not crazy about the proposal because of the voting that we lose. And I'm just kind of wondering, why can't everybody have the appropriate percentage of the vote? And some of them might be under a vote of one, but let everybody have the chance to vote on the percentage of their population to the entire community. That would be a suggestion I'd have that I think we'd be more comfortable with here in Erie.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Sure.
I do not see any other hands raised online. So unless I hear from somebody, I think we'll move on. Okay, so there is a motion and a second on the floor to table the any vote on the bylaws until legal can review the text and there can be additional work done on the makeup of the membership. And so I believe from what I heard, there's a consensus for that in the room, but I am going to do a roll call vote just so that we can make sure that, the members of the committee are the ones that are having their say. So starting off, City of Corey, Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. City of Erie, Bill?
Yes.
And Jason?
Yes.
Okay, County of Erie, Jessica?
No.
Thank you. Harbor Creek, Tim?
Yes.
Lawrence Park, Dale?
Yes.
Summit Township, Mark?
Yes.
Wesleyville Borough, Paul Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. E. Cato, Ron?
Yes.
Thank you. E. Cab, Bill?
No.
Thank you. Port Authority, Hannah?
Yes.
Thank you. EMTA, Dave?
Yes.
Thank you. Airport Authority, Derek?
Yes.
PennDOT, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. And PennDOT Program Center, I don't think Brandon's here. Julia?
Yeah, I'll say yes.
Thank you. Okay, so obviously the motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is another subcommittee report, local use fee. I'm turning to Matt Jonas. Matt, just based on prior precedent, you only have about 55 minutes to go. Okay, so I did get a little shorter. Thank you. All right.
Hey, but wait, before you do that, do we want to ask for more members of the to join the subcommittee, or what do we want to do?
Well, yeah, thank you. I think I kind of got out of order there and mentioned it when Tim made his comments, but absolutely. I'll reiterate what I said that, we, speaking for myself, only on the subcommittee, I feel like we did the best we could do with, the options that we had. But clearly that didn't meet what everybody was looking for. So if anybody, any member is interested in becoming a member of the subcommittee, please reach out to Allie or Jessica and express your interest. And we can include you in our next subcommittee meeting. So thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. So the local use fee subcommittee met on June 25th. So some of this data might be a little outdated. So at that meeting, Venango Township was requesting $700,000 from the local use fee to replace the deck and the beams on the paved road bridge. Poor condition has a weight limit. The bridge has about 150 cars per day, and the detour with the bridge closed would be about 5 miles. The township was willing to cover $50,000 in engineering, utilities, and right-of-way costs. If you look up there, we have the cash flow. The discussion was we don't have the fees immediately or the money immediately available. So the $700,000 would be programmed in the 2027 and on there programmed in 2027. So you see the cash flow with the $700,000 in there. We did have unanimously voted to approve the funding in 2027 for your, well, recommended for your approval. Beyond that, we discussed some of the TIP projects. We discussed the old Route 99 bridges. At that time, they were on pace to be completed by December 8th, 2025. Union LaBeouf Road Bridge is currently under design and preliminary engineering. The local bridge bundle was on pace to be completed by September of 25. And the Cockwa Avenue Bridge was pretty much done. There was a final inspection slated for July 29. Jason's here. I hope that he'll be able to share some more information about that. The Sherrod Road Bridge is delayed till next year. Himrod Road Bridge is currently under construction, and the remaining bridges are currently under design. And with that, the cash flow is still looking good. We're on pace for spending the money as we get it, so we're in good shape there. And our next meeting is scheduled for October 22nd at 10 a.m. at Erie County Planning. So if Jason has more information on the Cockwa Avenue Bridge, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would just like to start out, of course, for thanking the MPO for all of their past and ongoing support of the project. The project is a little behind schedule, which is not uncommon with most construction projects, but the semifinal inspection is tentatively scheduled for next week, so it'll be Tuesday, August 19th. The ribbon cutting is tentatively scheduled then for Monday, August 25th. And what we're going to do is once those are, or especially once the ribbon cutting is set in stone and finalized, we'll be sure to get a email out through the MPO, letting everybody know that, and of course with an invitation. So you can look forward to getting that once we have definite confirmation on it. The other thing that remains on the bridge is some of the basic things like some backfilling, landscaping, and the most major thing is the wearing course on the approaches up on Cockwa, and the wearing course underneath on Ravine Drive, and those expected to happen really soon. So, okay, and as far as the budget goes, we're slightly over on construction, but really not too bad for the price tag of the bridge. So percentage wise, so thank you. Any questions on Cockwa Bridge? Anybody? Okay.
Thanks. Any questions for Matt Jonas on the projected cash flow or? Right.
Just to give everybody an update, not that anybody cares, the one bridge in McCain on 99 may not be finished this year. I don't know who it was, but somebody determined that State Street was more important than all the health horizon is down there and they can't finish out in McCain. So just
Sure, there might be a few people in this room that, take credit for that, but. Any other? Okay, so it's my understanding, Matt, then that you need a vote on adding the Page Road Bridge for construction phase in 2027, that is on the projected cash flow. So would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Thanks, Bill.
second.
Thanks, Tom. All right, we have a motion and a second to add the Page Road Bridge for a construction phase in 2027 to the local use fee. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Very efficient. I should learn from you. I'm trying to be efficient. Next up is an update, another subcommittee report on the long range transportation plan, public outreach. Turn it over to Ally or Jessica.
Currently, Jessica and I are working with the WRA on the 2027 long range transportation plan. And currently we're planning 4 stakeholder meetings to discuss the plan. These meetings will take place on September 16th and 18th. Following that, a public meeting to discuss the 2027 LRTP will be held in October. Time and date are to be determined. Following that, a steering committee will meet in October. Time and date to be determined. And then in addition to the stakeholder meetings, municipalities will receive a billable packet, which we have a sample of for Albion Borough up here. In the packet, municipalities will be asked to review the previous LRTP and the hazard mitigation plan projects and studies. Then the municipalities will be asked to decide whether to keep, discard, let us know if it's already completed or any modifications to the projects. Then we request that the municipalities fill out these forms and send it back to myself. So then we can give this information to the WRA, and then these packets will be sent out within the next week or so.
As soon as they update all the packets, so it's all the 38 municipalities plus stakeholder groups that would contribute to the LRTP, and they've pulled all the projects from the last LRTP and the hazard mitigation plan, so they can see everything they had in the last planning.
If I could add, I know how important these are from the last time we did the LRTP for municipalities to fill out. Just want to give a heads up to anybody whose municipality where this may go to, a township secretary or somebody like that. Make sure that they're looking out for it and that it gets to who it needs to get to, because it's a key part of, making sure that your projects are accounted for in the LRTP.
And we'll send it out email, be our first attempt, and then if we don't get responses, then we can send them out in mail. We're going to try to chase down everybody, but you can be alert to an email that will come to you first.
Thanks. Can you please repeat those dates for the stakeholder meeting?
The stakeholder meetings will be, they're actually grouped by certain types of folks that would be in that stakeholder group. So municipal or elected or whatever, transit, whatever, they have different groups. So the dates, we're holding the dates, the 16th and 18th, we'll have 2 sets of meeting each day, but you'll get an invitation target to which stakeholder group you are in. So we don't have it ironed out yet. A PennDOT group, or
And then I guess just to, in case anybody is online, as far as general public input, not only will there be surveys and things online, but also I know that you're working on a coordination with EMTA and potentially County Emergency Management to have group public input sessions. Is that correct?
Can you go back to this one, Alan? So this flyer is just recently prepared. Do you think that link gonna work? Do you think that link will work? Yeah, so see if we can click on that link. So there's a survey and a wiki map that you guys can get started on now, but it will be also put out at stakeholder meetings and also at public meetings so that people can fill out the survey, to begin to put their data in, and mark on the map where they have problems and explain their problems. It's a very, very, I don't know, you can figure it out once you get in there on how to fill out the map. So those are live on the county website now.
They are.
I don't know how-
QR code also works. So.
It does work?
Yep.
With the PDF, it won't let me click the link, but QR code.
So it's on there. So when you have this packet, go on to there. Everything is live now to start to collect it. And then we'll push this out, this flyer. This is, we just our sample flyer, what we're gonna put out to get the word out that we're doing this project.
I know it's not covered in our bylaws, but I'm sure you'll do that according to our public outreach.
I did bring a copy of the public participation plan with me, and I already put sticky notes on the pages that pertain, so we're following our public participation plan.
Thank you.
Once the bylaws are changed, we will need to change the public participation plan to reflect. So I wanted to put that on a radar screen. Once bylaws change, this will be changed.
Great. All right. Anything else on the LRTP?
No.
Then next subcommittee report is multimodal. So Emerson.
I believe that's me. So, hello, everybody. I came to you guys before to get approval on a proposal for a Walkworks grant for bike share. And so I am here triumphant to say that we received the grant. So we have gotten $50,000 in planning funding to do a bike share study to bring bike share and other micro mobility to Erie County. So that is going to be getting underway. But with that, there was a need, as with most of these things, there was a proposal for a committee to oversee, a need to oversee some of these funds now that they've been awarded to us. And so I proposed to the Technical Assistance Committee to create a standing multimodal subcommittee that could meet regularly and advise on multimodal issues. For one thing, administering this Walkworks funding that we have, but also serving purposes such as advising on some of the multimodal grants, because that has come up and advise on the multimodal aspects of the long-range transportation plan, as well as shepherding some of the earlier projects like the complete streets policy. You guys probably have gotten my emails about those workshops. And we're hoping to continue that work. I think a standing body would be very helpful, as a lot of this stuff had kind of been done ad hoc by me and Emily, while she was still at the MPO. But I think a standing body would be very helpful with this one, especially now that we have some funding that we need to administer. So I would be proposing a multimodal subcommittee to be meeting quarterly, and in the month before the regular TAC meetings that could help advise on a number of multimodal issues as they've been coming, because ultimately and serve a lot of the different user modes that the MPO oversees and serve all transportation users in the county.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. When Emerson, proposed it, I thought it was something that could be very valuable. I think if I could ask you, Emerson, to please follow up with the committee members with an email asking for volunteers, members of the committee, and then we can kind of move forward from there after people express interest. And does that sound like a good path forward? People can consider that, a little bit and give you their thoughts.
Yes, and feel free to come to me after the meeting if you'd like to discuss. I can give you my card and discuss it.
Is it, so on, to create a subcommittee, the TAC obviously has the role to create a subcommittee. Does this group have to vote to create that committee, one, and then two, the membership of that committee? I looked through the bylaws to see if it was clear, which it isn't.
No.
Maybe that is clear.
Something that-
And can the subcommittee members be folks outside of the TAC, or do they have to be TAC or coordinating
Yeah.
committee?
That's a good point. So yes, I think we would have to vote to create the subcommittee, so we can do that today if anybody's willing to make a motion to create such a subcommittee.
I will motion that.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Was that?
That's better.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure. Hands and heard voices. Okay, so there's a motion on the table to create a subcommittee. I guess the discussion then would be, are we okay with any interested parties being a part of that subcommittee, even if they aren't technically an assigned member of the technical advisory committee? Does anybody have any thoughts on that or concerns one way or the other?
We could create, if necessary, non-voting subcommittee members that were advisory and voting members, if that's the way to define that committee.
I will say personally, I don't have a concern with anybody, having representation on the board, whether they're a member of the TAC or not, but does anybody here have a concern with any of that, or, looking at Jessica's alternative to having non-voting members of the committee if they're not a member of the TAC?
And as with all things, the subcommittee would bring their reports to the TAC for votes anyway, just like the bridge.
Oh,
Yeah, I think you're limiting, you have people who have interests that don't have an appointment. And so you're limiting your base of talent. And the subcommittee is not voting on anything anyway. In other words, it's like the TAC committee. You're going to bring forward issues to the TAC and to the MPO. You're going to help execute, the work you have to do. But if it's something that the other two organizations have to do, then it does go to the voting members. But I think you're limiting yourself if you just take from the voting members, say of the TAC or the MPO, because again, we go back to the representational thing. I'm going to reiterate the point, we're all members of the MPO. Every municipality, every governmental official has to have a concern. And that's the pool that you would draw from if you don't limit it.
very good point.
And the bylaws about the TAC just say the TAC can establish or abolish subcommittees and or advisory groups as needed. And those groups will report to the TAC and the coordinating committee. Doesn't say who should be members.
Yeah, okay, so probably.
Well, unless there's any concern, then we'll leave that membership open to whoever's interested in joining. I think that'll help, too, with getting members. At this stage that you're increasing the pool of people that are interested. So Is there any other discussion around creating a multimodal subcommittee? Then I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. So we're finally through the subcommittee reports and we can move on to other items. Next up is agency updates, PennDOT District 1. Tom,
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, Mark's out today, so I'll give an update and be brief, based on all the good conversation we've had this morning. We will have our newsletter updated for the coordinating committee meeting in September. But as far as other key design projects that we're working on or will be getting out the door for 2026 construction is a lot of work around the city of Corey, a paving project in that area. And also in the last month, I signed on the right-of-way plan up in the city of Erie for the two Conrail bridges that are over on the I-79. So those are our some big projects. That's an over $50 million project next year up in Erie. So those are what's going on as far as design. That's keeping our design team busy. As far as construction wrapping up here, the paving deadline is always October 1st. So there's a lot of things that happened over this past year in all of your municipalities. I mentioned Ron's bridges on 99. Out northeast, we have the 20 bridge. I think they're either pouring the deck or very, very soon doing that. Harbor Creek has a couple projects, 531, getting that, part of that open for the school that's going to start there in the turn lane. That's one of the priorities over the next few weeks here. And also the Bridge Station Road over I-90, that deck pour is coming up as well. And that's, again, another key critical thing that people think about, well, Station Road isn't a very busy road, but that bridge was actually at a low elevation, low clearance for I-90, which limited some commerce and different permitting. So, getting that fixed and that raised is really critical for the entire region. So, Edinburgh got a lot of paving work done too. So yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot to wrap up. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Bayfront and the State Street that we've all seen, a lot of impacts, of course, going on down there. But, we're looking forward to the closure that's coming up after Labor Day and working through getting that project moving again. Again, utilities were a little bit of a delay on that one, but we'll keep moving on that one. So any questions right now on any specific project?
I noticed last week that they were topping the roundabout at Sassafras Street. Is there a predicted date?
Yeah, that should be open before the other closure. So before Labor Day, right? Yeah.
And just, real quick, as far as Mill Creek projects, the 832 betterment.
Yeah, that one's
that's
been getting a lot of press too. It was a lot of the drainage work going down into the park.
Right.
That's been consuming a lot of, and I know it's an impact to all the visitors, especially this time of year, everybody getting that last weekend and last little bit of summer. So, we've been working through some of that stuff too.
And I know that the Facebook experts recommend that you should be doing that work over the winter. So I don't know if you ever.
Yeah, we got a lot of Facebook experts. For sure. Thanks. Go ahead, Tim.
Tom just went over a ton of projects that are happening in Erie County. I mean, we're having some issues with Depot Road as far as tractor trailers impacting our local roads, this and that. But for all the delays or, just the inconveniences these projects are causing, it's happening in Erie County. I'd rather have it happening here, and we just need to remind our residents every once in a while that it's better than in Philadelphia or something like that. So thanks to PennDOT for the project they're doing in our neighborhood. So appreciate that.
Thanks, Tim.
Matt, I just have a comment, and our people do great work. I get a lot of comments, and I'm sure all of you do, about, oh, I don't like gas tax. Why am I paying gas tax? Why am I doing this? And, the roads are bad, et cetera. But people don't understand how complex the whole thing is. But this morning I went over Wintergreen Gorge Bridge. It took me 8 seconds. How much money did you put into that bridge? $100 million probably in that project.
Well, the entire project, yeah, that bridge is
Okay.
probably 15 to 20 million.
8 seconds, I'm going over $100 million. Okay, nobody who goes over that bridge thinks about that. And it was a lot of hard work by these people to coordinate and get that safely built so that we can take that 8 seconds to go over that bridge. Thank you.
Great point, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Tom on his report? Thanks.
Thanks.
Next up, report from PennDOT Central Office. Julia, if you've hung in this far, now's your time again.
Yes, I just have a couple announcements. So just a reminder that the transportation alternative set aside application is open and draft applications are due on September 5th, with the final application being due October 31st. And they did release some detailed guidance, I think, since the last time we spoke. So I'll send over Allie the links that come with this information as well, and she can share with the committee after the meeting. And then the last announcement is that the Rail Transportation Assistant Program and the Rail Freight Assistant Program grant applications are open. These will be accepted until August 29th. Last year, $55 million was awarded for 30 rail freight projects across the state. And I'll also supply the links and more information to Allie to send out after the meeting. But that was all I had.
Thank you. Just on that topic, a question for PennDOT. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I recalled that the TAC, the preliminary application, requires a consultation with the district. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
You submit your draft and then we do the meeting before the official application is due. Correct?
So that's
Yeah.
part of the process. We don't have to reach out to anybody specific to set it
No.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you'll be meeting with Emily.
Right. Thank you.
What would these rail projects, what is?
Normally, the railroads are submitting for different projects. The RFAP or the rail freight, I think the max is $700,000 and a portion has to be paid for by the railroad in order for the work to be done that they submit for. Our TAP is a larger amount, but it has to have capital budget through legislation for those projects to go forth. So I know some like OC&T has gone and gotten some RFAP before for different lines that they needed to improve, that sort of a thing. But that's normally, I think, what you see it for.
Yeah, spurs into industrial areas and different things like that. Some track, just we would call maintenance probably of train tracks that really don't even impact our roads. Some of the portions are kind of unique applications when they come in, but we look at all of them.
Any other questions for Julia or PennDOT? All right, moving on to EMTA transit update. Dave, was that you, I would assume?
Yes, we've begun our transit development plan and we are coordinating with the long range transportation development plan for public outreach probably in the fall. Right now, we're just in the data collection stage with our consultants. But I will, as Jessica pointed out, on the LRTP, we will be reaching out in stakeholder interviews, et cetera. So I just want to alert everyone around this table that you will also be getting requests from us for input and participation. But that'll be down the road. I'll have much more at the September meeting. And then finally, I just want to add a good note that this past weekend, Erie, we hosted the statewide transportation transit rodeo, ROADEO, and it brought bus drivers, operators from across the state to our facility here and out at the casino where the track was set up for these drivers. And I was able to go to the day on Sunday and watch the drivers. I'd never been to one before, and it was exciting. And the coolest thing is that we won.
Our driver won the rodeo. It's the first time we've won. And then an even cooler thing is that although he came in fourth, one of our new American hires, from Syria, who has only been on the job for a year, came in fourth. And the only reason he didn't come in first or second is because you get penalized. You have 7 minutes to complete the whole track, right? And then there are cones. If you hit a cone, it's like hitting a pedestrian. There were a couple of mass casualty events, I have to say, but not Mo. He only hit 2 cones on the entire route. But when he got to like almost the last point, they let you know your 7 minutes is up. And then you start losing points each second thereon. And that last part, you have to get your bus up. You have to go from the stop, get your bus up to 20 miles an hour and go between these pedals that they descend toward each other, right? So it's like almost like a funnel. And if you barely touch the last one on the right-hand side, and that took a few points off. But other than that, it was pretty cool. And now our driver, Rob, he has to decide because he was 2 weeks away from retirement. But now he has a chance to go to nationals for us. Right. So he's got some decisions to make. But anyway, it was fun and it was great for us to be able to host it. And even though the fix was definitely not in, we did win it.
Congratulations. Well, any questions for Dave on the MTA report?
And for Dave, our consultant for LRTP and the consultant for the transit plan will work together to see if there's any stakeholder meetings we can do together. So as not to make everybody go to duplicate meetings. So we're working.
No, that's appreciated. Thank you. Next up is other business. Anybody want to keep this party rolling? Got any other business to bring up?
I would like to recommend that we have the next meeting at the planning department so that everyone can experience the road closure debate.
I hope that was facetious. No second on that one? So, okay, then moving on to the last item of business, hearing of the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak at this time? Okay, hearing none, then the next meeting for the MPO. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to put in a quick plug for Celebrate Erie. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this coming weekend, it kicks off Friday, so encourage everybody to come downtown.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd like to.
Oh, hang on.
World War II reenactment over in Conneaut, Ohio this weekend. It's free, but that's the largest World War II reenactment in the world. The town's 5,000 people, and they have over 12,000 reenactors come from other countries for it. And it's identical to the hill at Normandy. There'll be aircraft, there'll be landing craft, there's everything.
Right. Yeah, I'd always seen reports after the fact and never made it out there. So thanks for the heads up beforehand.
Yeah.
Emerson?
I just kind of piggybacking up with Jason. At Celebrate Erie from noon to 5 p.m. City Planning will be having a design at the Boston store. If you want to get any input on their outside Erie on the city's kind of Parks Rec plan or talk about collaborating, because I've also been encouraging them to collaborate with other municipalities on that. And then additionally, again, if you have any interest in the multimodal committee or any questions, anything like that, feel free to come and talk to me.
Okay. Last call. All right, next meeting of the MPO is the coordinating committee meeting on September 10th, and that will be at Summit Township. Thank you, Dave and EMTA for hosting this one, and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Yes. All in favor? We are adjourned at 11:45. Thanks, everybody.
Sure. Overlap. Eventually, we'll.